Greetings, deceivers and non-deceivers. This is the insane orangutan. Greetings, deceivers and non-deceivers. This is the insane orangutan. It is September 9th, 2010, a Thursday. Just past the witching hour, so-called. Just past 12 midnight. I'm doing this video from the United States of America, from the upper Midwest, and am currently looking at an article called Poll, Most Americans Object to Islamic Center. I have something to say about this. However, there's so much to say, I don't know exactly if I'm familiar with the way of how to start this. Let's first start this from a secular perspective. If we look upon the fact that this is predominantly an other than Muslim country, supposedly, as far as religion, predominantly Christian, then this article that I'm looking at in the Washington Post, dated Wednesday, September 8th, 2010, Poll, Most Americans Object to Islamic Center. So we've got a majority of Americans whose religion is Christian. There's division, much division, which Paul spoke against, about dividing up and dicing up Christianity. I think secularists have worked very well. Secularists involved in religion, I'm not saying secularists in the pure sense, or per se, but those that dabble in religion have really messed up Christianity. But if this were a Muslim country, would we object to an Islamic center that isn't even actually built, or a mosque that isn't even actually built, whatever it would constitute, isn't even actually built at the site of the two planes hitting? It's not even built there. From a secularist perspective, or on a secularist argument, it is amazing to me how the right in the media, the so-called right in the media, and I think there may be some lefties that are against it too, have pumped you Americans, and for as many as foreigners are aware of this, into a frenzy over something that is not something to get pumped up over. I think there are injustices that happen in the world every day. I also think if this were a Muslim country, they would think of it as a good thing, whereas we would think of it as a bad thing. On a Christian perspective, Paul speaks that we are not to be, Jesus speaks that we're not to be of the world, for if you want to look at that, in the world but not of the world. Jesus said, you are not of the world even as I am not of it. But Paul speaks, somebody that's an officer, a military officer, does not get involved in civilian life. And he spoke that to get to the point where we are not to be getting into these political matters. If you're an officer of God, whatever that would constitute, officer, quote unquote, then what does this have to deal with you as a Christian? If you're a Muslim, you might like it, or might not like it, or might be ambiguous about it. I would plea that these Americans and these Christians stop being pumped up by the media. As far as a national thing, it wouldn't be an issue if you were Muslim. As far as a religious thing, we're supposed to focus on things that have to do with Christ, not buildings, so named Muslim. or Islamic. Speaking directly to the Christian mindset, you better get your mind screwed on straight, your head screwed on straight, and your mind screwed on straight and looking straight ahead, straight forward. Because this has nothing to do with Christianity. Jesus said, my kingdom is not of this world. He said, if my kingdom were of this world, that his subjects would have prevented him from being arrested by the Jews. But he said, my kingdom is from another place. Once again, as a Christian, if you're a Christian, or even as an American, or as not an American, this is not relevant. It is being turned into relevancy. Something that is turned into relevancy is irrelevant. What is relevant stays irrelevant, no matter whether somebody poo-poos it or exalts it. And likewise, an irrelevancy does not turn into a relevancy, whether somebody poo-poos it or exalts it. It is irrelevant. Once again, from a secularist point of view, what difference does it make? Or from a secularist thought pattern, from a secularist ideal, it is a religious center, or is intended to be a religious center. Just another religious center. Whether trying to make a statement or not, it doesn't matter what these people are trying to do. So much of our lives are already manipulated, and you allow yourself to be manipulated by the media because you refuse to take an opposing stance. Opposing in the sense of thinking for yourself. It's just a building. It's not the exact place where the destruction happened in 2001. It doesn't matter, not particularly looking at it from a Christian perspective, it doesn't matter what these people's intent is. From a Christian perspective, the Bible says to set our sights on things above, not on things of the earth. What it signifies is not our business. It may represent something that we don't like. It may represent that this was intended and that people are excited about it. But specifically as a Christian, if our kingdom is not of this world, if we do not consider ourselves an American first, and this is, I heard George Barna did a poll, the Barna Group did a poll, where they consider themselves Americans, just before it came off their top of their head, they consider themselves Americans before they consider themselves Christians. From a Christian perspective, it is of the world, what we would call of the world, and it is not relevant to us. And if most of these people that are objecting are Christians, consider themselves Christians, it is a physical thing. We don't get excited about buildings. Those of the same faith as Abraham, eventually those people got excited about the temple, maybe, some of them. But now that there is not intended to be a temple, we shouldn't get excited about this. We are being manipulated, and I think we should be a lot more concerned about that. It is just a religious building that they're intending on making. Whatever their intentions, why do we have to say this is sacred space if we're not Christians? And if we are Christians, supposedly the majority religion of the United States, why do we have to think that this has to do with us? What they intend is their business. Where it is placed is an issue hyped up by the media. Christians should set their sights on Christ, not on things of the earth. Concerned about the spiritual aspects and how this country has been corrupted by the moral perversity that many people live in. They won't object to a mosque on religious grounds, or because it's placed on religious grounds, or the fact that it is indecent in their mind. The place is not sacred space for a lot of people, so let's stop acting like it is. People run our lives, and the world is against the way we think. For Christians, the world against the way we think, and our lives are run already. I'd be a lot more concerned about the direction of our lives that is taking a bad turn. God bless. And that's out.